Was he just like not that long ago? There's like a year ago. Yeah, you know, right? Exactly. Probably yeah. So I was the one they called change. Oh, yeah, sure. You work with yes. Okay. Is that working out? I'm trying to get back.
So my computer can see.
Yeah, okay. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I think so. Like you should, like, you know, like, even if you should go, you should go. Yes, right. Not fired, like. Well, I already did that. Actually, I just have to. It's really the background, sure, that. I love that. I'm talking to this. Lots of time, but I have. It's not even. You say that I'm like, I don't know when it will. And like, I mean, I have one thing, but like.
Well, it's back.
I'm like, I.
Oh, I got one.
Summer camp. I said I would not do summer camp this year, so that would give me a minute. I don't know yet. Although everyone's like, summer camp, you like. No, I'm trying to get it back. Joe, that's the thing, like that's the one. So we do the bunch of stuff. Yeah. I used to see it swing up. That's just not. Everyone's.
I'm a walker around.
My boss, can you road again? Oh, you're okay. It's my big butt. Can't play for me.
Oh, perfect.
Benjamin, you were from Vernal, correct? So he's coming to visit with us to talk to us about human resources.
It's very exciting.
It's so exciting, but we all need to know it, right? So I would love to talk a little bit more about environment.
Yeah. So hi, my name is Tony. I own a company called The Grange HR Consulting, and that's what I do for a living. Well, I guess this is me. I have a bachelor's degree from USU in political science, oddly enough, and an MBA from the University of Phoenix. I'm a PHR, professional human resources. I'm a member of the board of directors of Utah SHRM and a board of directors of the Vernal Area Chamber of Commerce. And one of my coolest claims to fame is that I ran the Work Elevated Conference for 2 years, which is the state HR conference. And I'm a member of the state board of SHRM. And everybody's nodding because of course you know what SHRM is, right? SHRM is a Society for Human Resource Management. That's HRN. And we're the largest organization that represents employers and human resources professionals in the country. So I'm on the board of directors for the state of Utah's version of that. And we're the people who annually hold the state conference. It was a roundabout circle way, wasn't it? Anyways, the end result of this is what I would like to do is give you an introduction to human resources and what it is in the modern world. And it is something that is very different than it used to be. And I want to invite all of you as business owners or people who run businesses to join us at the state HR conference if you would like to learn more. And to say, if you have employees who would like to steer down that path, there's lots of ways to get help with that. So, and help them in their career. There you go. That's the big takeaway. The other stuff is just the cool stuff in the middle. And I only ever put this up here just so you know who I am and that I actually know what I'm talking about, which some people doubt sometimes. So, okay, so I'm going to start with a little bit of background about human resources and what it is. Human resources is an outgrowth from World War II. For the first time in modern American history, well, in any point in history, the US government needed to take millions of people and they needed to put them somewhere else on the globe. And they needed to make sure that every single one of them, they knew where they were and why they were there. It used to be just in an old world war style, you'd say, go to the front line. Well, in this particular case, everywhere was the front line. And if you've ever seen the movie Saving Private Ryan, right? How do they know where Private Ryan was? They do. So it evolved from that, pieces of paper moving people around, all that sort of stuff, into when I got into the profession 20 years ago, it was the mantra was keep us out of court. The laws in the late, starting with the Civil Rights Act of 1964, up through the late 80s into the early 90s, the law became very, very complicated. And before you knew it, employers like you were afraid that they were just going to get sued out of existence. Let's do this. Let me ask, just go around, how many employees do you have at your company? How many do you have?
I work for Duchesne County.
Oh, okay, perfect. Tell Judy I said hi.
Yeah.
Tell her said, Tony said you would tell me how cool it was.
Tell Melissa good luck at practice.
Oh, I will, thank you, yes. Yeah, Melissa's our, she's the lead singer of Monday Hunt. If you want to come see somebody really sing, it's her, you just gotta push her out of her shell. Okay, so you're from the county, how about you? No employees, perfect. You don't have headaches very often, that's awesome. How about you?
No employees right now.
Not right now, okay, no employees, perfect.
I'm here because my profession works hand in hand with HR.
Oh, good, what do you do?
Finance and accounting.
Oh, yes, yes. We either love you or hate you. And who's supposed to be reconciling that bill? Right.
Four employees.
4 employees, okay?
I have independent contractors work.
Ooh, even scarier. Good for you. Okay, well, this is good. I'm giving you guys an overview, right? And the trend in law is to push the law down more and more so it applies to the moment you have one employee. So many of the laws we'll talk about at the very end are situated for people who have 15 or more employees. But the moment you hire people, you need to start veering towards this. We're going to talk about that. Okay, so after this, so it became keep us out of court because the law became very, very complicated. And first half of my career, that's all I heard. Whatever you do, don't let me get sued, Tony. Whatever you do. Knock on wood, I've never been sued for a decision that I have made. I've had a few complaints because executives at companies I've worked at have done things I told them not to do. I've never been sued for anything I said do this. But that was how it was for a long time. That's not enough anymore. And it's perfect that we're talking when you're building your business from the ground up. I'm in the same boat, right? I have a consultancy. I don't have any employees. I contract out some people. And I do arrangements and pay arrangements and different stuff. I don't have employees. But now is the time to lay that foundation for when you will hire people later. And we'll talk about why that is. But the modern view of HR is Toby. How many of you seen The Office? right? You see in the office, that's Toby. This is my favorite quote about human resources. Michael Scott says, if I had a gun with 2 bullets and was in a room with Bin Laden, Hitler, and Toby, I'd shoot Toby twice. And this is the modern view of HR. We all know, we've all been there, right? HR is the police. We report bad guys to them. We tell them horrible things are going on in the workplace, or we want hammer to fall on so-and-so. That's what it is. And I think it's unfortunate that this is, look, I'm famous for standing in front of a group of 400 HR people and telling them that most HR people suck, and I really believe it. And it's out there, but this is not the role of human resources. This is not actually what we do. All right, so what is human resources? Human resources is the art of management. And if you need to understand that what human resources is at its core, we are the art of management. How to make human capital work. I'm going to get more into that in just a second. But understand this, we are not just the paper pushers. We're not just the people who get you your benefits. We're not just the people who take care of bad actors in the workplace, although I have those stories. But we are there for the art of management. That is our role. That's what we do. All right. So now, what is that role? Where does that put us? What does it mean? The things that we do. The first, our major goal is the efficient use of human capital. Okay, that's our goal. We want to make sure that your employees, and some people don't like it when I say we're the human capital, they are your most valuable asset and they cost you the most. Okay, nothing, you know this, right? You're in accounting, you've got those silly wages that we have to pay all the time. They're very expensive. So that is our role as human resources, is to make sure that your human capital functions as efficiently as possible. Okay, so everybody here, some of you got a few employees, but when you hire your first employee, you're just like, please do it right. Please don't mess this up, right? I'm handing you something precious. Don't mess this up. But it's the same thing when you got 50 employees. You're like, please don't mess this up today. And just, maybe you got a good manager here or there or whatever to help you with those people, but you're still praying, please don't mess it up today. Don't do anything stupid today. It's a big risk. What you want is, as you grow, the reason you hire people is because you don't have the time to do everything that needs to be done. You just don't. Okay, flat out, you just straight up don't. So you hire somebody to do some of those tasks for you, okay? And they take care of certain things. Now, obviously you want them done right, but here's what you want. If you hire that person and they come to you every 30 seconds and say, what do I do about this? What do I do about that? What do I do about this? And you end up doing their stuff that you assigned them, then why did you hire them, right? We've all experienced this probably in some form or another, one place or another. So the efficient use of human capital is that when I hire somebody, they come take care of the things that they need to take care of. They solve problems for me. And that doesn't matter if I have 1 employee or if I have 200 employees, they solve problems for me. They fix them for me. And what I want to make sure is that they are doing it at the most efficient way possible. They're not wasting their time every day. They're sitting down, they're getting to work, they're functioning, they're solving problems for you without coming to you, and they don't mess it up. Right? They're doing it the way you would want it to be done. That's what human resources does. Whether it's small, medium, or large companies, it doesn't matter. You just want to make sure it is done right and you're not on it as efficiently as possible. Okay, so that's our job. Now, we have a lot of tools in how we do that. Okay, a lot of tools about how we do that. I want to tell you about employee experience. How many of you have worked for a crappy employer? See, this is universal. We all have worked for someone who did. Like, there was my first job out of college. I loved it for about a year. And then slowly it turned into this toxic, terrible environment where the 6'5" boss would stand right in front of my face, look down on me and scream. It was terrible. And every day I woke up and wondered if I was sick that day. Because am I really sick? Do I feel well enough to go to work today? Do I really have to go? It was terrible. That was my experience. It turned into something horrible. And for some stupid reason, because I was young and I had just bought a house, I thought that I had to do it. I thought that I had to go through that every day. That's just how work was. And that was my experience then. Human resources, our job is part of that. Okay, so let's say we go out and we buy a machine, okay, and it's supposed to produce widgets for us, and it's supposed to make 100 widgets an hour for us. We bring it in, we lay new concrete, we put the machine on top of the concrete, we turn it on and it's pumping out widgets, but we find out it's only producing 80 widgets an hour. Okay, brand new machine we got. Do we just pick up that machine, which we just invested all the money in and throw it out and buy a new one? No. Why? Because the machine said, people who bought it from said, it should produce 100 widgets an hour. I want it to produce those widgets. If it doesn't, I don't want them. So what do? You check on it, you figure it out, maybe get a repairman out there, get someone from the company you bought it. What do we gotta do? Change the oil, change the coolant. Maybe there's too much electricity going in, maybe there's not enough, maybe that new slab of concrete I put down isn't level. Or there's a problem, whatever it happens to be, I'm gonna fix that machine and make it work right. Overall, an employee is exactly the same. Okay, exactly the same. The difference is that you don't change the oil on an employee. Like if any of you leave here and start draining their blood and trying to put new blood in, then we'll have a conversation, okay? But just, we don't do that sort of stuff. How then do we get them to produce 100 widgets an hour instead of 80 to be efficient? How do we do it? Well, we treat them well. We make them want to come to work. We provide benefits for them. We provide security for their family. Their spouse, husband, wife, child, mother, parent, whatever it happens to be, they're loaning that person to us for 8 hours a day or 9 hours or 10 hours, whatever it is. And they're sacrificing time away from them so that they can get money in return to have a life, right? That's the exchange that we make with our employees, which is fantastic, it's perfectly fine. But we want to make sure they're happy doing it. Because what's the one thing that someone who's worried about whether or not they're sick every morning or they're very productive? No, I tell you, I was not very productive at that job. I accomplished a lot for the first while I was miserable, but that wore off pretty quick. And then it was, how do I just get through the day? So that's part of it. We treat people well, or we do certain things with people, or we meet their emotional and professional needs and financial needs so that we can have them produce more, so that machine will produce 100 widgets an hour. That's what we do. Now, we talked about in that analogy, the concrete floor, maybe there's a building around the electricity coming in. These are the analogies to culture. So, I don't believe that anything in life is related to football. I don't know if you like football, I love it. I'm a big Pittsburgh Steelers fan, have been since I was a little kid, never liked another team. My father still has, it's been about this, especially when you don't win. Anyways, the Steelers have this culture, they have won more Super Bowls than anybody else. Okay, they have this culture. When they bring new people in, they take them to the Hall of Fame. And they say, that person played for us, that person played for us, that person played for us, that person. They did point them all out. There's a lot. And they say, that's our culture, that's who we are. You're going to play for us and you're going to be the best person in your position until you can't be that anymore. And then you move on. And we require you to train your replacement. And do a good job. That's quite a heavy burden. But that's the culture they put on people. And when that culture breaks down for some reason, they stop winning. So that's the power of culture. Culture is defined as the sum of all interactions between all people involved with the company. So that means employees, managers, owners, customers. If you have a customer that comes in and yells and screams at people or slaps people on behind or calls them bad names, whatever he does or he or she does, that's part of your culture because you let it happen. It's part of what you do. And your employees, when they wake up in the morning and try to decide if they're sick or not, they're thinking about the client coming in, not necessarily how you treat them. But all that is part of your culture and what it is. We hear lots and lots and lots of things about culture. Here's what I would tell you. while you're small, is the best time to create culture. Now, and I would tell you, this is the example I always say, right? So if you're the HR person for the Jazz or a professional football team, or you work for Minky Couture, that's a different culture. The Minky culture doesn't necessarily work in a football team. Right? It's just different. I'm sure at Minky, I don't know if anybody's ever worked for them, but I'm sure it's all hugs and smiles. Right? They're just soft. Their whole product is soft, so everything has to be soft. I'm sure it's nice. But that doesn't work if you're on a football team, right? So your culture, whatever you want it to be, has to be designed to get the success that you want. We do that by writing vision, mission, and values, and creating a culture in which we define what it means to be successful. We take some things, we say, if we do these 4 things, no matter what, we will be successful. And then you worry about the input, and the output takes care of itself. That's how we do it. That's the 5 of it. And the best time to do that now, before you have employees, or when you just have a few employees, that's what you do. Okay, you create that culture. On my wall above my desk is my vision, mission, and values. Because I'm setting that for myself, and when I hire people to work with me, that's the culture that I hold by. Okay, so here are my mantras for you then to take away with you as you build your companies and stuff. And again, this is what human resources does. This is what we do. Number 1 rule is that culture is king. Nothing else matters. Nothing else is nearly as important. The thing that separates people like Apple from the guy down the street making electronics in his basement is culture. It might be a little money too, but if the guy making stuff in his basement has good culture with the employees and people he gets to help him do it, then he will succeed. And that goes to, because if you have a good culture, your employees are jazzed. We call it engagement, that's the technical term. But what it means is that your employees come to work and they're totally focused on you. That doesn't mean they can't think about their kids, the hard day that kids are going to have with that spelling test or whatever it happens to be. That's not the point. The point is that their whole being is engaged in making your company successful. And by the way, it probably bleeds into home, which means it's okay if home bleeds in a little bit of work. But they're engaged, they want to do it, right? That's culture. You do that by culture. They get on board, they participate with you and are excited by the culture. They want your vision that you put out there. They're like, that's my goal too. Okay. So when I worked for Superior Drilling Products, trying to Myers company in Vernal, our vision essentially was to make everybody rich. That was our vision, right? To create prosperity for our families, communities, and business partners in that order. That was our vision. So that's a great vision to tell your employees, look, the more productive you are, the more money we make, the more I can pay you. And tell them that up front. Like, this is how we do it. This is how we help each other. So culture is king. Number 2, the org chart is queen. And they get married and they produce cool stuff. So the org chart, as you build it, as you design it, should, no offense to accounting, because you like to do it otherwise, but it should not be built around product silos or how revenue flows through your company. Your org chart should be built to produce whatever it is you need to produce. Okay, so if I've got 2 products and they're built the exact same way, lots of companies like to create 2 separate departments to make 2 different products, even though they're built exactly the same. I would tell you, why aren't they part of one organization? Okay, but you can figure that out as you go. But the point is your org chart. Okay, so how many of us know when we get hired at a company that the receptionist knows more about what's going on than anybody else in the building? All right, and it's a truism. All I can do is walk up and ask them, they'll tell you. But you see on your org chart, information in your company should flow in the same direction as your org chart. And the reason is because if I'm your boss and I can tell you, hey, I want you to do something, but you find out from her it's really this other thing and you do what she wanted, am I really your boss? I'm not your boss. If she's the one guiding you, I'm not your boss. And then it's stupid if I give you bad reviews or want to fire you because she's actually the one guiding you, right? Authority and information need to flow along the org chart. I would say in American business, I'd say only 50% of companies get this right. My biggest pet peeve is dotted lines. You ever seen the movie Office Space? You seen this? If you haven't seen Office Space, by the way, it's a brilliant movie. It's genius level. It's about this guy who's so stressed out at work, and his girlfriend takes him to couples counseling. And he goes there and he's so stressed out. And the counselor, the meeting with her with, hypnotizes him and puts him into an ultra relaxed state. And then the counselor has a heart attack and dies, and leaves him the rest of the movie in this ultra relaxed state. It's awesome. There's one naughty scene in there about 30 seconds long, but you just get past it. Anyways, awesome. Org chart is clean, make it work for you. That's vitally important. And then the last is what we talked about before, a vision-driven company. Okay, you need to be a vision-driven company. When your employees get to work, why are they there? What are they doing? What is the purpose of that? Okay, they want to be on the same page as you, and if they are, they will be just as engaged as you are in achieving their goals. I would say if you're walking around, you got problems with people messing around or goofing around or talking with friends and not participating and all that sort of stuff. The problem isn't that, that's a symptom. The problem is that they don't see the vision and aren't engaged with it and cheering and pulling for it. And you either need to get rid of them and find somebody who will get engaged, or find a way, what you should do is get mad at the manager because they're not engaged. Okay, all right. Any questions on this? That's very different than, let me help you process your PTO, right? What does the employee handbook say? The employee handbooks are all going to come after this, okay? If you do this right, the employee compliance with the law becomes an afterthought. It's something I tell my clients all the time. They hire me to come in and fix compliance. And then I say to them, compliance is like step 5. Let's talk about your vision, mission, and values. What does it have to do with compliance, Tom? Well, if I fix this, we don't have to worry about compliance, it'll fix itself. That's really what we're doing. Okay. I'm going to talk about laws. Any questions before we move on? Okay. That's cool. Either you're asleep. And look, I know it's human resources, so I get it, okay? It's not the funnest thing to talk about. Hopefully it's been more enjoyable than usual, though. I'm gonna touch on just a few laws that you need to know about. These are laws that I would know about right now. And I would tell you that after having a teenage daughter going around and applying to different businesses to work for them, there are businesses in the basin that are in violation of these laws. And if it ever gets out, they will be out of business. What was that? Usually mumbling names.
No, I said, tell me about it.
Yeah. There are some businesses in the base that violate these laws, and it's ugly. And the only reason they're not out of business is because someone hasn't got mad enough to tell. Okay, it's not good. Okay, first is Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. This law created certain what we call protected classes, and they are race, sex, religion, national origin, age, disability, genetic testing status in the military, and in the state of Utah, we've added gender identity and sexual preferences. And I know I'm missing some. I used to be able to name those off the top of my head, but they've added so many new classes. Anyways, they create certain protected classes. You're not allowed to discriminate against anybody based upon those things. Okay, if you do, you get in trouble. And the way we get in trouble in the United States is that the government comes and gets you instead of the person sues you. That's how we do it here. Harassment, we often hear about this. Harassment is a form, what they call a disparate treatment. It's a form of discrimination. Discrimination, by the way, is anything that creates an unfair disadvantage for somebody. And that's the definition. And then harassment, there are a couple of different kinds of harassment. Quid pro quo, which is right where the boss chases the secretary around the desk until she finds something heavy enough to knock him out with. Right? That's quid pro quo. The one you hear most about, though, that's a hostile work environment. And that has a long definition. We could literally spend the next 2 hours talking about hostile work environment. But we'll just set it on another table for another day. But that's the Civil Rights Act. And what's all sexual harassment is, just to give an example of this, sexual harassment is discrimination based upon sex. Okay, you're treating someone differently because of their sex. Okay, just don't discriminate based upon those things. If you ever have any questions, call me and I'll walk you through. Okay, I'll help you. The Fair Labor Standards Act, the FLSA, this is the law that was passed in the 30s, I can't remember the exact year now. But the Fair Labor Standards Act set up our current 40-hour work week. And if hourly people work more than 40 hours, then you have to pay them overtime. The law created two categories. Everyone was covered under the law, and then there was a few people that are exempt from it. And these are executives, professionals, they exhibit high degrees of autonomy, they do things however they want to do. That's good stuff. So that's the first class. The second the first class of the people who are subject to it, the second class are what we call exempt employees. So if we call them exempt, the people who are subject to law are called non-exempt. They're the ones you pay them overtime. Just a couple of cautionary notes. Never, ever, ever, ever tell somebody, hey, if you work a few hours of overtime for me this week, and don't get paid for it, I'll give you time off next week. Never do that. That'll get you sued into the ground like super fast. The number one way to get sued in the United States right now is through the Fair Labor Standards Act. I'm not paying people for it. If you tell them don't come in and work on Saturday, they show up and work 3 hours on Saturday, you have to pay them. Okay, anytime they do work. Now you could write them up and fire them because they did it, but you still need to pay them. So don't cheat anybody on wages, don't short them on wages, never, ever, ever get this. There are law firms in the southern half of the United States, down south, right? That they hold classes on how to sue your employer on this. Okay, then there's the Americans with Disabilities Act. Normally, when we think about this, we think of ramps, indoor buildings and stuff like that. In the context of employees, what this means is if somebody has a disability, you're required to have to do some sort of accommodation with them as long as it's reasonable for you to afford it to do, or they can do the essential job functions of their own job. If you have questions about this, come see me or call me. I'll help you out. This is pretty easy when you know what you're doing. I've been hired at companies where they're in lawsuits over this, and where the government official told me that was overwatching over it. They said if they had only gone through this certain process, we would fine for the company because the person's obviously lying. But they didn't follow the process, so we have to. They also passed during the Bush #2. They passed the Americans with Disabilities Act Amendment Act, which made it easier to sue your employer. Like we're not getting the lawsuits bad and stuff. Then there's the Family Medical Leave Act. Everybody familiar with this? Oddly enough, we all deal with this mostly. So, if you have a certain medical condition or whatever, you can get up to 12 weeks of unpaid leave to go and deal with it. It only applies to employers with 50 or more employees within a 75-mile radius. So it'll be a one. But here's my contrary note to you. If I were you, I would abide by the FMLA and get about 25 or something like that. Okay? Just start to do it. You can build goodwill for your employees and so. I have been in a room where I've had to tell somebody who has cancer that they're losing their health insurance because the company can no longer employ them. It's not a fun conversation. I've also worked for a company where we've let somebody take FMLA leave or lots of leave. Everyone rallied around that person. 3 weeks later, somebody else had cancer too. And 3 months, 4 months later, whatever it was, we found out she was lying. She just wanted time. So this is why we have rules and boxes around stuff, right? You don't just give infinite leave to employee A because if employee B wants the same treatment and we don't give it to them, they'll say, well, you discriminated against me because I was part of the class. Follow me, right? No good deed goes unpunished. Just remember that. Okay, so that's Family Medical Leave Act. Age discrimination. The age at which you can discriminate against somebody because they're old is 40. Shockingly. Right? I've been protected a long time and I didn't know. Yeah, so anyways, just for example, when you riff a whole bunch of people, say you've got 50 people that you need to cut back to 20, you want to make sure that you're evaluating the ages of all of them so you're not just firing all the old people. Okay? There's certain protections they have in the community workplace and stuff like that. One that I did not add up here that I should have is a new law called the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. And this covers all employers from 1 employee up, and it covers not just pregnancy, but anything related to reproduction in any way. So If you have a pregnant worker, whatever, call me. I'll walk you through how to do it. If they're not pregnant, they're just, I don't know, they just have physical problems that are related to that, and they need to take time off, it's probably covered under that. The lawsuits from that law have not started coming in yet, so we don't know what it's gonna look like in 10 years, but it's there and they'll everywhere. And then I-9s. I won't ask you to raise your hand, but I-9 to when you hire people, you don't, most of you don't have them, so it doesn't matter yet. From day one, you're going to do an I-9 on everything. If I were you, the moment you decide you're gonna hire anybody, I would do an I-9 form. Or I would go through E-Verify, and I would learn, they'll teach you how to do I-9 forms. Here's something we should all learn. This is a local example. Does anybody know, remember the Miller Beef Pack and Logan? Anybody heard this story? You've heard this story?
I had all those,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, they were hiring lots of illegals to work there for them. When they got raided on it, they took enough workers out of their production facility that they closed for 2 days, and that closure was enough to wipe out their margins, and they shut down. Here's the fun part to remember about this. The owner of the company was not doing the I-9s, got fined, personally got fined. The company got fined. A few of the executives got fined for that. The only person to go to jail, the HR person. Because they were writing their name on the federal I-9 forms, and that form is a federal affidavit. If you lied on Uncle Trump, they put you in jail, okay? To make a mistake on the line is a fine of $45. One line, one mistake, $45. A maximum of $1,500 per page. Okay, so do them right, and by the way, your contracted employees or 1099 employees, you should have a way that you feel pretty comfortable about their status as well. Because if the government feels like you're avoiding the I-9 responsibilities just by making them 1099, they'll treat you just the same. But it's always the person who signs their name on the I-9 form that goes to jail if you do. Okay? If you do the E-Verify process, it trains you on all this, and you get a confirmation immediately that they're a citizen, okay? Or they're authorized working. So easy to get around. Okay. Any questions about that? That was scary. I just tell everybody I don't look good in orange, so I'm not fighting on it. It's not my colors. Any questions about this? Okay. These are the laws that you need to be aware of. If you want, I can come back sometime to dive really deep into the ugly side of human resources and laws, but these are the ones you want to know about. All right. I want to touch on one last thing, and being a member of the board of directors for Duchesne, I'm kind of sort of obligated to talk about this. The Society for Human Resource Management SHRM is a national organization. It's got tens of thousands of members in the United States. It also has members all the way around the world, different countries. We have a version of that here that is called Utah SHRM, oddly enough. And that state organization has several chapters throughout the state. It has 4 or 5 chapters that it has here in the United States, ranging all the way from Cache Valley all the way down to St. George. It has different chapters. You can join those. The membership in the national SHRM is $200 something a year, and it gives you a huge database that you can look up articles and everything about the law and all that sort of stuff. Get sample handbooks when you're ready. If you don't want to call me and all that sort of stuff, they can do all that for you. To let you know that here in the Basin, we have a group that's called Basin HR, and we are officially a 501c3 nonprofit group now, and we are building so that we can officially have a chapter of SHRM here in the Basin. That is certain. We have to have a certain number of members. We have to have been financially viable for a certain amount of time and all that, but we're working on it. We meet once a month. Anybody that's here is welcome to come join us. We'll have a website soon and that sort of stuff. We're just getting started. But Basin HR, we meet once a month. We go through laws. Next month, as a matter of fact, the second. Oh, see, I'm gonna have to ask Judy where this is. But you're I'll show you my email address here in just a second. You can email me, I'll give you details if you want to attend. Next month, we're actually meeting in Roosevelt instead of Vernal. Normally we meet in Vernal, but we're gonna meet in Roosevelt this time, and The speaker that we have coming is a nationally recognized speaker on recruiting and hiring. Brilliant. But I don't think there's anyone better in the country about recruiting. So anyways, that's there, we're here for you. If you know of people or your employees, or you want to learn more about human resources, there's something available called the SHRM Foundation. And this is a foundation you can apply for scholarships and everything else that will help you become educated in human resources. Okay, so you can, you just apply for scholarships, you can do it through Utah SHRM. You can find us on the group.com, utahshrm.com, I think it's the website. You can find out more about it, or go to the SHRM National page, and they have a link there for the foundation as well. Anyways, this is Utah SHRM. This is the logo of the annual conference that we have every year, the Work Elevated Conference. And it's held the last week in September, this year, Monday and Tuesday, September 22nd, 23rd. It's $500 for 2 days. It will be held down in Provo. If you want to come see the band will be playing that night down in Provo at a restaurant. But you're welcome to come down and sit down there with us. If you go to that or you want to do it, let me know. I might be able to finagle you a little discount of $50 or something like that. I like Krista, she seems like me. I'm sure we can figure out something. But anyways, it's also a great way to educate yourself about human resources. They have a course, a whole course just for early practice, people who are just learning HR. The whole conference, every class in there, which I'll be teaching one of those, is just straight new information for people who are just learning. You have that all the way up to advanced stuff about how to use AI to calculate or predict your benefit usage and that. Okay, so there you go. This is my website, thegrangellc.com. That's my email address, Tony@thegrange. I have cards if you want. And up there at the top left hand is the email address for Basin HR. Matter of fact, that's where you could send an email to get information out next month when we're done. So we'll be down here in May, let's say it's like the second Thursday, it'll be at 8 a.m. I just don't know where. She's got that.
I guess it's the library.
No, I don't know if she knows. I don't think she had a place in it. But anyways, there you go. If you want, you're more than welcome to talk to us or wherever to contact us. We'll be happy to give you the information we can. I hope that I've helped dispel the Toby syndrome thing. Hopefully that's not what you think of this anymore. Is there any questions or anything I can answer for you or do for you? Yes.
So it's statistically proven that companies that give better benefits or, have better culture per se, have employees produce better, and show up. Why is it that the United States is pretty much behind, specifically on like regulations of PTO, maternity leave, and do you recommend to people who are just starting in HR to give better benefits and to like other countries?
So, okay, so here's my direct answer to that. I think there's a difference between the government mandating we do something and us doing it, right? What you'll find is that we may be slightly behind other places like Europe and that sort of stuff, but not by much. The difference is we just don't have laws here that make us do it. Right? And so when people talk about we're behind, yes, maybe, but I actually like the employment relationship in the United States much better than there. For example, in France, if I hire an employee and when I fire them, I have to continue to pay them for 1 year afterwards, no matter what, right? So I hire less people. Is that right? Because I don't understand. So, okay, so there's that. Then the other answer is benefits are a tool. PTO, benefits, perks, the discount I arranged down at the local bakery or the cafe or something like that for my employees. All those things, they, first of all, they're never a recruiting tool, but they are a retention tool.
Yes.
But they're only tools. So here's an example. So I worked for a company named Ovivo. They've been in business for 100 and something years. They did water treatment plants. Okay? They were engineers. They just made water treatment. They drank coffee and made water treatment plants. And they were having a problem with people innovating. They weren't innovating enough. They weren't coming up with new ideas. And they said, look, all the tech we're putting into these things is 70 years old. We got to come up with new ideas. So what we did is for example, it used to they had PTO, But they were allowed to just bank it and save it from year to year to year. And when you retire, generally you quit 6 weeks earlier than your official term date because you had 6 weeks. So they had that. Well, I said to the boss, well, look, if you want your engineers to start thinking differently, let's force them all. Let's make your PTO policy use it or lose it. You can't bank it up, you can't build it up. We'll let all those people have all that stuff banked up, we'll let them keep it, but everybody else that's use it or lose it must use it now. And maybe let's say 5 years from now, they have to use up all that big stuff. And what we did is we got a lot of backlash from them, right? But we also increased the amount of PTO we gave. We got lots of pushback from them. What are you making me use it, and all that sort of stuff. But what we found is we pushed people out of the office. They got away, they had more vacation, they got away, and they thought differently when they were in the office. And within the next year, and I don't want to say it's all because this one changed, because we did other things too. But within 1 year, they filed 3 new patents. And it's a tool. So the answer to your question is yes, large benefit packages, all that sort of stuff is really cool, but it's only a tool. And most of the time, they are not recruiting tools, they are retention tools.
Yeah.
So if you come work for my company and have the best benefits, you won't leave. But you probably won't take my job if I'm paying you 30% less than she does, right? So you get where I'm going.
Yes.
So there are tools and we manipulate the tools to get the results we want. So be as generous as you possibly can because that encourages people to stay with you. And we can talk about satisfaction, all that other sort of stuff. Retention. But that's the answer I would give you, is it depends on what you want. I have a client that's here in Roosevelt. He likes stable people to work for him for long periods of time. He tends to hire older people and people with lots of experience, and they just stay with him and stay with him forever. To do that, he's got to have a high value for benefits, right? To keep them there. So, yeah.
So there's not a standard like for a small business compared.
No.
That's the hard part is like a small business employer, we're so worried about the benefits and things we're gonna offer employees and you just have to build it to work.
Yeah, you have to, because you're constrained by finance, right?
Yeah.
You only have so many dollars, and look, you can pretend, if you got 5 employees, you can pretend that you can afford the richest benefit package, like you guys get at the county, I'm sure is awesome, right? You can pretend you can afford that, but you can't, right? So you do the best you can, do the way you can. But focus your attention on those things that are most important to you, or people in a way that benefits them, or benefits you the most because it helps them. Yeah. Here's a few markers, right? For a standard business, in Utah right now, for a professional, for a white collar person, the starting number of PTO hours a year is 3 weeks, right? 120 hours, that's generally what you start at. Blue collar people start anywhere from 80 to 100 hours per year of time off. It's just like wages or anything else, people look at that. They'll look at that when they take the job or whatever, how many days off they get year one. But that's the benchmark. I'm trying to think of other benchmarks maybe, but that's a good one. Any other questions or thoughts? No. Okay. Well, there you go. I hope it wasn't too mind numbing. If you need anything, I'm obviously going to stick around for a bit. I have some cards with me. If you want a card or whatever, you're more welcome to call me. And look, we're all at stage you're at. If you got a question, just call me and let's talk about it. Okay, I'll just help you out with some advice. I do work for a law firm too that's on the other side that sues employers and stuff like that. You call me, we'll chat for 30 minutes. That's fine. But call me. Don't. What you shouldn't do is wait for something to fester before you call me because you're worried about paying. Don't do that. Let's just take care of it with you. Just call me when you need something. And then you're going to tell somebody that's got 100 employees how cool I am, and they're going to want to hire me. So yeah, it all works out. Okay, there you go.
Awesome. Thank you. So we will, I know we do this every time, we probably know each other by now, but if you'll just, we'll start at the side of the room, if you'll just introduce yourself and what you do or your business. That way we can get to know each other a little bit.
At Ecom, I run Learning Center. We offer classes for kids who homeschool and can kind of take
curricular kind of classes and just kind of give their parents a bit, and know how to do everything in one school. You're amazing. Plug. Thanks, I'm amazing. I missed you quick.
Yeah, my name's Melinda. I get social marketing agency and we do website design. Most of our clients are content based, we do their social media content. But we also can do graphics, brochures, flyers, whatever graphic design we do have, we are your go-to.
Hi, I'm George. I don't own my own business, but I'm about to graduate with my master's in accounting. It's neat because my work handles a lot of stuff with HR and also trying to network. And you can imagine it's not very easy to find jobs in Roosevelt. So I figured you know, corporate values. That's it.
If you connect with me on LinkedIn, I click like on every job that crosses my feed. You just keep an eye on your feed and LinkedIn after that, and you'll be smart to use.
Actually, following that's how I found out about this.
Oh.
I'm Allison. I'm a holistic energy practitioner offering several different types of services such as food zoning, energy healing, Reiki, access bars. I work with individuals, women business owners, doing all things energy.
I'm Tanya. I positive at Coffee Co. So we have extra students and coffee or exterior. And of course, it's got all the positive affirmations infused. So, and then I also have a life and health coaching business that I primarily specialize in helping women. I do energy work as well, specifically Reiki, and then alternative self-awareness modalities like human energy. So really helping people get to know themselves, understanding what's going on with them so that they can show up at work and not in their place as well. And but more for me, it's all about relationships. When I know me, when I have a relationship with me, then my family prospers in a different way. So
I'm Tina, and I make drums and I do drum making workshops. I do drum circles. I have a coaching business. I teach Reiki. I'm an energy healer. Just do all kinds of fun stuff.
my name is Lindsay Garlick. I'm the Victim Services Coordinator for the Duchesne County Sheriff's Office. I also wear a couple different hats. I'm the coalition chair for the Duchesne County Older Way Forward, which is a statewide initiative to enhance the lives of women and children across the state of Utah. Love to connect with anybody if you're interested in joining with us. And I'm also the founder and current board chair of a brand new nonprofit that is creating a warming center. It's a lot on the horizon. It's exciting.
My name is Abby Holloway, and I have been doing power sports with my husband, so I have a business owner, but I also think it's amazing that we have this women's group so we can come and talk about, you don't have to be a business owner, but just work and life and keep motivation and inspiration. So I think it's all relative to what we're doing. So don't be discouraged, and we're thankful you came so much. So I'm thankful everybody came. There is a QR code on your table. If you guys don't mind giving us some feedback, this is with the chamber on what you'd like to see and help you need within your business or workplace or anything like that. We want to help. And then if you have any feedback about when this is what you want to see here, what would be helpful to you, we'd love to hear about that as well. But I appreciate you so much taking time on your day to be here. Make sure to grab some great food and hope to see you next month again. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you, Tony.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. I had a good time. I hope everyone else did.
Unfortunately, it's one of those things you have to